Hey guys, this video is going to be talking about our health and how most people do not have very empowering, loving perspectives and beliefs about their health, that most of their beliefs are rooted in fear and distortion of the truth of who we really are, of how our bodies work, of how reality works. And I really just want to share a more empowering perspective of our health because it is the most important aspect to our health is our beliefs and the way we choose to perceive the body, the way that we choose to perceive reality. And most people think that their health is something that's very fragile, something that is could turn on a dime, is random, and that the only way to really protect yourself is by preventative measures, right? Your diet, your exercise, how often you go see a doctor, how many tests you get done, what kind of medicines or supplements you take, all these different things. But all of that is outsourcing our power. And so we have to realize our health is innately metaphysical in nature because everything is consciousness. And as long as we go by the models that talk about and believe that we are just physical beings and only look at physicality and physical causes and effects for our health, then we will always feel like we might be a victim to something outside of us, rather than realizing that the source of our power and our health and well-being lives inside of us already. Because God did not create a stupid reality. And I say that, maybe that's a little maybe stupid isn't the right word, but a little bit. God didn't create a physical reality because there is nothing physical. In order for God to have created something physical that's solid and stand alone, separate from God, it would have had to have created something separate from itself, which is ontologically and metaphysically impossible. And that's why knowing ourselves, knowing who we really are, is the key to reclaiming our health. When we understand that there's only one source of creation, one source of power, and that is the infinite and eternal awareness that God is, everything that's being created is being created through consciousness, through the formless dreaming of the form. And our health is directly tied to our belief, to our faith. And this is why healers throughout history who did healing work, who facilitated miracle healing and all of these things. Jesus, for example, said that people were healed by their faith. When they had faith that their healing could be done, that God could heal them, that is when their healing occurred. And Jesus held the frequency of that because he had the deep knowing of who he really was. And so our health comes back to that. If we have beliefs that say we're a victim to our genetics, that we're a victim to our DNA, that we're a victim to viruses and bacterias and things that could come and harm us from outside of us. As long as we do that, we're living in victim consciousness and we're living in fear. We're always worried. But did God create us to always be worried about our health? To always be afraid? And to me, that just doesn't seem like a very loving thing to do. And if God's all loving, then is that actually what God did? And that's what we have to honestly question. Or, alternatively, from the theories of us being afraid and us being physical and always being a victim to things that are outside of our control, alternatively, what if we're intelligently designed? What if, because all of this is consciousness, all form is consciousness, and all form is therefore made of God, and because God is everywhere, meaning God is everything, then everything is divine intelligence incarnate. So every cell of my body, every atom is made of God. It's made of divine intelligence. It's made of consciousness. And if that's the case, and I am the loving co-creator and caretaker of my body, then what I tell my body and what I choose to believe is what dictates how my body responds over time. And so if I spent 20 years, 30 years, 40 years, however many years, believing that my body worked a certain way and that life worked a certain way, that would create certain conditions over time, right? And that's why we look at a lot of older people who are in very poor health and they have very poor belief systems about their health. Very fear-based, limiting, and overall detrimental belief systems about their health. And they believe that they deteriorate more and more and more as they get older, that their health gets worse as they get older, and that it could never get better, that it's not going to get better. And these are the beliefs, these are the conditions that they're creating for their health as they get older, as they move forward in their life. And you see it manifest in their body. But when someone claims back their power and remembers who they are, remembers, I am one with my source, that my source is right here, that my source is listening to what I consciously choose to believe, what I consciously choose for myself. Instead of me thinking that all these people who have all these degrees and all this education in a system that's rooted in distortion and not knowing who they are, thinking that everything's physical, instead of me outsourcing my power to them, instead I claim back my power by knowing that I am a divine child of God, that it's all God, that my body is made of God, that God is love. And so if I have free will to choose my own beliefs about my body and about how my body responds, and about how my body ages and evolves and changes, and about my own health, then that is what my body listens to. That is what my cells listen to. That is how my body rearranges back into health. And when you understand the intelligent design of the body, you realize that it's always trying to come back into health and well-being. That's the natural state of the body. We're not meant to live in these decaying flesh tombs that people think they are, because that's what they've known. But when have we collectively had really healthy and empowering beliefs about our health? If you look back for thousands of years, we have had really fear-based beliefs about our health. Before we got into medical science, most people thought that when someone was sick, it was because they were possessed by something demonic or evil. That was a widely held collective belief. People still believe that. People still think it's the devil or a demon or something unholy. But really, when we realize that we are consciousness and we realize that the natural state of being for the body is health and well-being, when we are rooted in the truth of who we are, then what's causing all the sickness and all the disease is the body purging from the distortions and the illusions and the fear and the stress that we carry that we're not meant to carry. It's part of having the illusion of a physical body. We came here because we wanted the experience of what it's like to have a body, because our natural existence is without a body. That's who we naturally are, is formless. And right now, we are playing with form. We have committed to this body. That's why we can't just, even though we're consciousness, we can't just poof out of this experience at will, because we made a commitment by being born in a body, by having a body. But we are not limited in the ways that people think we are. While we have agreed to commit to a body, the body is not a victim to the conditions that it came in with. That was part of the karmic contracts that we decided to take on. Even someone being born with genetic conditions and things like that, all of that can be rewritten and healed if that person comes to know themselves and changes their belief system and reclaims their health. And when we see people have miraculous healings in their life, it's because they had faith. It's because they changed their beliefs. It's because they believed that God could heal them. And as long as you think you're protecting yourself by collecting all this information and knowledge and constantly getting checkups and diagnoses and all these things, you're just going to keep living more of that. It's not going to change. Your health won't change because you didn't change your belief systems about your health. As long as you're afraid for your own health and well-being, you will continue to live in that state of being, and it will not change. You have to choose, you have to claim back your power and choose consciously, choose differently for yourself. We are not meant to live as victims. We are meant to remember who we are. And we are at a time where remembering who you are is widely available and safe for the majority of people. Because we have the internet. Because it's no longer are we getting stoned or hung for having these deeper metaphysical and spiritual understandings of reality. And this is one of the most powerful understandings that you can have in your awakening journey, in remembering who you are, is when you claim back your own health and well-being and realize that it was always based in God. Even your bodily transformations that you would like, if you would like your body to shift and transform in a certain way, it's rooted in your belief system if you believe it could even happen. I've lost total about 150 pounds. And that didn't come through really hard work, to be honest. The hard work I did was to rewrite my belief systems and uh, commit to my healing and go through that. But it wasn't really strict diets. It was not really strict exercise regimens or anything like that. It was remembering that God is the source of my health, and that, before I used to have belief systems that led me into that place that was very unhealthy and very heavy, where I was almost 400 pounds. I had belief systems that said it was really hard to lose weight. I had belief systems that said my genetics and my metabolism was just naturally bad. I had beliefs that said unless I was perfect in my diet, I couldn't lose weight. And I let all of that go, and I rewrote my belief systems, and I committed to them until they were just my lived reality. And then naturally, when my body was in a season of losing weight, it just dropped the weight. Nothing special, to be honest. I mean, sometimes I naturally felt called to just eat fresher, a cleaner diet, and it just felt natural. It was easy. And then there are other times where I just maintain having pretty much kind of whatever I want. And then I'll go through another cycle where I drop more weight. And it's been really easy, to be honest. It's been really easy. That has been something that I just gave it to God, and it's just been unfolding over time because I stayed committed to it and I trusted it and I had faith in it. And my health, like right now, I'm going through a purge, like my throat's sore and I'm, congested and stuff. But this is just the natural clearing of the body. The symptoms of the body are not things that we need to be afraid of. But as long as we think that if we're not feeling perfect, that there's something wrong, instead of something going very right, then we will continue to worry and fear and create conditions that never needed to be there in the first place. Because what actually causes disease and illness and poor health in the body is fear and stress and unprocessed emotions. These are the things that kill us slowly, that deteriorate us, that bring us into poor health, that keep us having physical symptoms and purges. And in the process of purification, when you have committed to remembering God and remembering love and anchoring yourself in the truth of who you are and having empowering beliefs in every area of your life, then you've got to go through some cycles, some seasons of detoxing and purging and going through dark nights of the soul as your body purifies, as it remembers how to be in its natural state of health and well-being. But when you remember who you are and you're rooted in oneness, you're rooted in truth, you're rooted in God. God is your source of all well-being, all health, all wellness, all abundance. God is the source of everything in your life, all of your healing. Then naturally, eventually, you will just be in a state of health and well-being, and you won't really get sick anymore. And you won't ever have to be afraid of your health. And you will age naturally as your soul dictates that journey, because that's just part of your journey, depending on how long you plan to be here. And you won't feel so heavy. To really know yourself is to let go of all the stress, all the fear, all the worry, all the doubts, to stop putting your faith in what people say who have no idea who they are, to stop listening to them and to reclaim your own sovereignty, your own power, your own truth, what you know is true in your heart, what you know is true in your body. And then when you commit to that and you have faith in it and it starts to play out inside of you and you start to experience it, you won't doubt it anymore. You'll just know that I reclaimed my power by having faith in God, by trusting, and by letting go of all the things that used to cause me unnecessary stress and worry that were based in something that just is not the eternal truth of who I am. Knowing yourself and realizing that you are the free, sovereign co-creator of your personal reality, that is how we reclaim our health and our power. That is how we let go of fear. That is how we overcome fear. And it's a process. It's a journey, but it is the truth, and that's why our belief is so powerful. And yeah. If you guys are interested in rewriting your belief systems and healing and coming into oneness and well-being, I do offer one-to-one coaching and guidance, and I'm also having a new program, which is a 9-week course called Becoming the Dreamer that starts in September. And we're just going to be remembering love and oneness and healing our relationship to the body, healing our relationship to the mind, healing our nervous systems, and remembering that being the co-creator is easy. Being the I am is easy because it really is our free will and our choice to trust love that creates our reality. And that we don't need to perform and effort our way into the life that we want. We can surrender into it and remember that love was always what was most important. Always. So there's a link in the description if you're interested in that, or feel free to reach out and DM me some other way. But I love you guys, and I'll see you in the next one.